That School presents Quadratic Equations 3. Let us remember that in a quadratic equation, the highest power or exponent of the unknown is 2. This video is about solving quadratic equations by applying the formula for the difference of two squares. The expression a square minus b squared can be factored as a plus b times a minus b, so that when you open this up, you have a times a, which is equal to a square, a times negative b, which is minus ab, b times a, and a positive b times a, which is a plus ba. Remember, ba is the same as ab. In multiplication, the order doesn't really matter. 3 times 4 is the same as 4 times 3. Therefore, b times a is the same as a times b. So essentially, in the next step, this and this will cross off. And finally, b times negative b is minus b square. Like I said, ab and ba are the same and they are of opposite signs, so you could cross them off. Finally, we just have a square minus b square, which is this. A plus b times a minus b is the factored form of a square minus b square. Similarly, if you replace a and b with x and y, you have x plus y times x minus y is equal to x squared minus y squared. You can use this formula in solving certain types of quadratic equations. Let's say we have 16x squared minus 25 is equal to 0. Now the moment you look at this 25, you know that it's 5 square, it's a perfect square. It helps if you could remember the squares of first few integers. So the moment you know 25 is 5 square, you're probably guessing that, okay, I have a 5 square equal to 0 here, something minus a 5 square. Therefore, the other number could be the square of something, so that I could factor it as a square minus b square. Now, if you look at 16, 16 is 4 square. So if you put a 4 down here, we have an x square. So this is going to be 4x square. Square of all of that. It's not 4x square, it's the square of 4x. Therefore, this is equal to a and this is equal to b in our formula a square minus b square. And remember, this is going to be equal to a plus b times a minus b. So in the next step, we are going to factorize this as 4x, which is a, plus 5, which is b, times 4x minus 5. And that is equal to 0. So there we have the factored form. Two factors multiply to give you 0, which means at least one of them is 0. Either this is 0 or this is 0. So if 4x plus 5 is equal to 0, if you take the 5 on the other side, you have 4x is equal to negative 5. That's subtracting 5 from both sides. And then to find x, you divide both sides with 4. So we have x is equal to negative 5/4. In the other side, 4x minus 5 is equal to 0. So 4x is going to be equal to 5. If you take the 5 on the other side, it's no longer a negative 5 as in here, it's a positive 5. And therefore x is going to be equal to 5/4. The two answers are x is equal to negative 5/4 and x is equal to 5/4. Let's see another example at work. Let's say we have a y squared times a y plus 6 minus 25 times y plus 6, and all of that divided with y squared minus 36 is equal to 0. This one doesn't look like a quadratic equation, does it? After all, you have a y squared times y, which is going to give you y raised to the third power. Indeed, this is not a quadratic equation, but then if you factorize the numerator, you have the common factor as y plus 6 and y plus 6. So in the next step, let's go ahead and rewrite all of that in the factored form. On the numerator, like I said, the common factor is y plus x. Take that out. From the first term, you're left with a y square. So we have a y square minus 25. So that's the factored form of the numerator. In the same way, you can factorize the denominator. If you look at 36, 36 is nothing but 6 squared. So you have y squared minus 6 squared. Let me write that down over here. Y squared minus 36 is equal to y squared minus 6 squared. And that comes under the form of a squared minus b squared, where this is a and 6 is b. So that we have a plus b, a is y, b is 6. So y plus 6 times a minus b, y minus 6. And then if you look at this part in the numerator, y squared minus 25, that again falls under that same category of a squared plus b squared. Therefore, we are going to go ahead and rewrite this as y plus 5, that's a plus b, b in this case is 5, 5 squared is 25, times y minus 5, over y plus 6 times y minus 6. You can cross off the y plus 6 from the numerator with the y plus 6 from the denominator, because y plus 6 is never going to be equal to 0. Y can never be negative 6. Or y can also never be positive 6. In fact, the denominator of any fraction can never be 0. So if you have something over something is equal to 0, you can safely say the denominator is not 0. This side would be undefined if you have a 0 in the denominators. At least y squared is not going to be equal to 36, which means y will not be equal to 6 or negative 6. So when this is equal to 0, there are two possibilities. Either this is 0 or this is 0. The numerator has to be a 0. So we have either and r here, either y plus 5 is equal to 0, which means y is equal to negative 5. That's one answer. Or y minus 5 is equal to 0, which means y is equal to positive 5. That's another answer. Although y plus 6 is a factor of the numerator, you cannot say y plus 6 is 0, because if it were to be a 0, the denominator would also become a 0, which means you would have a 0 over a 0 form, which is not defined.